I thought Chelsea were lucky in general when it comes to refereeing decisions. There should have been an Arsenal penalty. They could have gone down to 10 men as well. But we're used to that this season, so we just take...
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Whinge and Cringe FC are at it already. Look. Stop blaming referees. Right, that's my... Stop blaming referees.
But I don't think it's a coincidence that the two players that tore their hamstrings are the two players that we've leaned on the most, that we've overplayed, in my opinion.
People that saying we're going to get battered by Real Madrid. Arsenal don't get battered anymore, really, by anyone. They've started 12 games together this season. They were the most prolific duo in the Premier League last season.
If I was a Gooner, I want to know, why aren't we going out in January? Why aren't we saying, right, we have an issue here?
You guys have spent over £1 billion. Yeah. And we're talking about our lack of attacking options.
He was right. We weren't in a title race. Top 4, yes. That was the race. Yeah. That was where we really were. I was furious at the end of the game because that is not good enough.
Hello and welcome to Inside Chelsea versus Inside Gooners. Yes, for one day only, we are in the same room to dissect yesterday's match. A bit annoying that we've picked today, but never mind. We are going to look ahead as well to what the rest of the season might hold for both clubs. I'm Olivia Buzaglo, and today I'm not just joined by former Chelsea defender Jason Cundy. I'm joined by two Arsenal fans. We've got Rory from Rory Talks Football and broadcaster and Arsenal fan Harry Symeou. Right. Jace, why have we...
guys.
I mean, welcome. This is weird, isn't it? We've got like a half Chelsea, half Arsenal set. I mean...
I was a little bit concerned that I was going to be sitting behind the
Arsenal
but we've managed to
side.
split it, so thank you.
Yeah, we've got like a little... No, it's good. The set looks great. I mean, Jace, first of all, I'll come to you because why have we chosen to do this today? But actually...
We had no say.
We just got told we had to do it.
We just got to turn up.
Lost 1-0 at the Emirates, but to be honest... It was almost what I expected. I didn't expect anything more, not much less. I went into that game thinking, we'll probably lose, probably won't get battered just because of how Arsenal are playing at the moment. Was it what you expected yesterday?
It kind of was, actually, unfortunately. I predicted 2-0. I didn't think that we would score, as it turned out to be. I thought that Arsenal, at 1-0, it felt like I was concerned about the 2-0. I think we might see again what we saw 12 months previous, or nearly 12 months, and we got absolutely battered. But Arsenal... They lacked that little bit of intensity still themselves. They were really good for the first 25 minutes. Should have had a penalty as well.
Should they?
Yeah, I felt it was handball. Yeah, I felt it was handball. Yeah, the Cucurella one. He knows what he's doing. It's not a foul.
I was literally at the game and I actually can't remember that.
Yeah, it might be one of those you miss because... they missed it on VAR.
Missed it as well.
They missed it on VAR. I don't know what you missed. Unfortunately, I saw the game I was fearing I would see. But I come away... I do come away a lot of Chelsea games now a little bit. Yeah. And I don't like that feeling in me. And what really disappointed me was that with 15 minutes to go, Arsenal clearly weren't going to... They're going to counter-attack and sack deep. They're very good at it. What do? Nothing. We'll be there here now, by the way. And we still won't...
Still wouldn't have scored, yeah.
What really damning for me, Cucurella scored our last goal against Leicester, 1-0. Had the 2 attempts on goal, if you want to call them that. We've got problems up top.
Yeah, we have massive problems up top, and I think we will get into that a little bit later on. But obviously, from an Arsenal perspective, Harry, a win's a win. It wasn't the prettiest of games. I actually looked at that and thought it's probably one of the easiest performances or one of the easiest games Arsenal have this season because Chelsea didn't lay a glove at all.
No, yeah, exactly. It was one of those games where Arsenal were able to get the desired result, but without really shifting higher up than second gear. It felt really comfortable. I think there was a good intensity about Arsenal in the very early stages of the game. But once they got their noses in front, you kind of knew what was coming. We know Arsenal are lacking a bit of a punch up front at the minute. And we know that they can lean on that defensive solidity that they have as a team and be quite confident 9 times out of 10 that they're not going to concede a goal. And that's exactly what they did. But in terms of the game itself, it was a strange one because there were moments in the game where it felt like a pre-season friendly. And there were moments in the game where it really heated up and there was a little bit of back and forth and the referee had to reach for his pocket a few times and you started to feel like the game was kind of bubbling under the surface and it was going to boil over, but it just kind of never did. So comfortable win for Arsenal. It's important that we make second place our own, I think. Got to show that that's our bottom line nowadays. And we move on. Big 3 points though.
Rory, agree? Big 3 points, even though the performance from Arsenal wasn't anything special, but you just did what you needed to do, really?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was one of those where, our focus is probably on the Champions League, but tying off top 4, top 5 in the Premier League is helpful. And beating Chelsea at home. Incredibly, it's still a top 4 team that we've beaten, which makes it sound like a better result than it was. And overall, the performance was, other than scoring more goals, which we know why we've got that problem at the moment, and we know we can't particularly solve it at the moment. Defensively, I think we limited Chelsea to your lowest number of shots, lowest number of touches in the box, lowest everything offensively this season. So, we're solid defensively. We build on that and take the 3 points.
Wesley Fofana, I've loved having him back in the team, and I think he's straight back into the starting 11 when he's fit. We have seen that. Harry mentioned it was bubbling over a little bit. The ref was reaching for his pocket. Mm-hmm. Harry, I'm going to come to you first on Wesley Fofana. Did the ref reach into his pocket a little bit too late in the game? Because as a Chelsea fan, felt like he was maybe lucky to get away with a few against you lot.
Yeah, he committed a number of fouls. The one on Declan Rice in particular was nasty. You don't see Declan Rice get up and react that way. And so from my position, I could see that something had gone on. And based on Rice's reaction, I knew there was a little bit more to it than just a tackle from behind or the sort of snapping away at the heels. Having seen the replay, he's a very, very lucky boy, Wesley Fofana. And, I thought Chelsea were lucky in general when it comes to refereing decisions. There should have been an Arsenal penalty. They could have gone down to 10 men as well. But we're used to that this season, so we just take
Here we go. Here we go. How many minutes are we into the show? Whinge and Cringe FC are at it already. Look, this lot. Honestly.
Hold on a minute.
Here we go.
After the way Neto acted, and anyone that's got Mark Cucurella in their team cannot talk about Whinge and Cringe FC. Come on.
To be honest, Mark Cucurella is one of those players that you absolutely love if he plays for you, and you absolutely hate if he plays against you. But I feel like there has been a running theme with Arsenal and refereeing decisions this season.
H and I have locked arms before on this one.
Have you?
Stop blaming referees. Right? That's stop blaming referees. You get decisions for you, get decisions against you.
Do you think Wes was lucky yesterday?
I think he's a lucky boy. I thought there was a number of tackles that once he got away with the first one, he must have been. I thought he was lucky not to pick up a booking really early. And once he doesn't, and it took him until it felt really late.
58 minutes.
58 minutes.
I thought it was later than that. Okay, I thought it was later than that. But even so, I don't like discussing referees, in all honesty, because it does take. You can use it as an excuse. And,
do you think these two use it as an excuse?
I think Arsenal like to use it as an excuse. They do. And they come out on social media. It's true. To be honest with you, the red cards they've received, I even thought Lewis Skelly was a red card. I did. No attempt to play the ball.
Come on, Jason.
Gone down the shins. I've said this.
Wait, which one?
The one he got rescinded against Wolves. I thought, you can't be taking players out like that. No intent to play the ball, right? And I wouldn't have rescinded it, personally. I felt it was a red card.
Miles Lewis-Skelly should have got sent off in the Champions League. I don't think that one was a red card. But the one he got away with, a second yellow in the Champions League, regardless, anyway. I don't know why we're talking about...
Yeah, but we hold my hands up. He was lucky in the Champions League. And the one he received against West Ham was absolutely a red card, no problem. But some of the decisions against us this season have been ridiculous. That's the truth of it. And if people want to hide behind tribalism and pretend that that's not the case, that's fine. But all you guys are doing by being tribalistic and ignoring the facts is you're enabling these referees that constantly make errors to hide behind the cloak of tribalism. That's exactly what we're doing.
Do you not think Rory, what goes around comes around?
Yeah, I would believe that if it ever came back around.
God!
Do you know what actually is just generally annoying me about refereeing in this league at the moment is that Fofana one yesterday. There were 4 bookable offences for either stamping, nasty tackle on Trossard, fouling someone as they're running into the box. Doesn't get a booking for any of those.
Partey on Neto.
Looking at it back.
Okay.
Yeah.
You forgot to mention that one. I just thought I'd remind you.
No, that actually plays into the point, though. He doesn't get a booking for that. I don't think he got booked for that one. The one booking Fofana gets is for rolling the ball back onto the pitch. And
stupid booking, that as well.
It's stupid, but
I mean... Obviously, we can talk about refereeing decisions. I want to talk about Mikel Arteta saying that Chelsea are the best attacking team in the league.
He doesn't believe that.
Where has he got that? And I understand if you look at some of the stats. Yeah, I know Chelsea have got good numbers, but if you've watched Chelsea over the last 2 months, Jace, how on earth he can come out after that game, especially? Well, we've got Palmer, Jackson, Madueke missing, our 3 best attackers.
He's not alone. Managers do this. Managers, a little bit like when boxers, right? They badmouth one before the bout. Once the winner's won it, right, he then turns around and says, what a fighter he is, by the way. And that's all this is. It's bigging up his own performance. It was a flat performance from Arsenal. The boys are right. Didn't have to get out of second gear. We offered absolutely nothing. But to come out and say it's the best attack in Premier League football, currently right now, no one believes that.
Okay, let's talk about. We've spoken about the game a little bit. There's not really too much we can sit here and talk about because it was a poor game from both team standards. Arsenal have had issues this season, Rory. Strikers injured, Saka injured, Marino having to play there. Do you think where you are right now is where you should be, given everything that's happened?
Yeah, probably. I can't think of really a team in recent history that's won a Premier League with the number of injuries that we've had and the number of significant injuries to significant players that we've had. So, to be honest, to be second, I think we've been a decent enough team throughout the season. We've not been played off the park by anyone this season, but we don't deserve to be close to Liverpool because we've thrown points away in certain games. And I look back to certain games, particularly like 2-0 up at Aston Villa, where we had plenty of our players available. We threw points away in those. So yeah, there's justifications for dropping points here, there and everywhere. Ultimately, we're second, which is great. We're 12 points off Liverpool, which is not where we want to be.
Do you think, Harry, obviously the gap between you and Liverpool is massive, and at the start of the season I thought it was your season. I didn't want to admit it because I didn't want it to happen. But I thought, given last season, and I think everyone it was weird, everyone sort of knew City maybe weren't going to be the City of old. But I look at Arsenal and I disagree with Rory because I think you should be, and I know like losing Saka is like Liverpool losing Salah, right?
Well, they lost him in the cup final, didn't they? Based on that performance.
You know, he's got 0 non-penalty goals in like 15 finals. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Liverpool. But losing Saka was obviously going to be a big blow, obviously, and he would be a big blow if anyone was to lose their best player for that long. But do you not think Arsenal should have maybe been in a better position to deal with that if that did happen? Because it just feels like the options that Arsenal had to replace him, it's difficult to find a player that's going to be able to replace Saka that's going to be on his level, obviously. But it just feels like maybe you could have been a little bit better equipped if that was to happen, because Saka has had injury issues in the past. Yeah,
I've said it in the past. I think that you got to go back to last summer when Arsenal went into the transfer market. We all knew that they needed to reinforce in that attacking area, and they didn't do it. They brought Raheem Sterling in from you guys right at the end.
How's that gone?
Yeah, it's gone terribly. It's gone terribly. That's the reality of it. He's not contributed anything really when you think about his overall sort of time at the football club. But yeah, I do think Arsenal needed to do something last summer to boost that. What really frustrated me was that they then had an opportunity in January. So I'm not saying go and get the guy, because we know that it's not easy to do that in January. But go and get somebody in, even on a short-term deal, that is going to bolster your options. Because for the last few weeks, we've had no Saka, no Martinelli. Of course, he returned to the starting lineup yesterday, but we've been without him. We've had no Kai Havertz. That's our front three essentially out. And we're having to patch it up. Trossard being too heavily relied upon, Mikel Merino playing at centre forward. I think in answer to the original question, yes, where Arsenal are at, all things considered, is acceptable. But I feel like Rory, we've thrown away points. And I think when you look at some of those injuries, and I don't want to be critical of Mikel Arteta, because I think overall he's done a great job. But I don't think it's a coincidence that the two players that tore their hamstrings are the two players that we've leaned on the most, that we've overplayed, in my opinion, that we've not been able to give a break to. I think that was a contributing factor. So there is frustration, but it's hard because you want to go big on it. And then you look at the table and you go, but hold on a minute, we're second. And this wasn't even in the realm of possibility 2 years ago. We're here now. We're still in the Champions League. Stop being negative. So it's a hard kind of balance to find.
I was just going to go at that because a lot of the Gooners were phoning myself and Jay up on the sports bar, complaining before Saka's injury that he's overplaying. There was a game he played 90 minutes, I think, in the Carabao Cup game. You boys might be able to remind me who it was, where the game was won. It was a cup game early on in the season. And he's playing 90 minutes. And when to take someone away in warm weather training and Havertz and then rip the hamstring so badly that he's out and he's in operation, you have to look close at home. And I think that I think this is where Arne Slot deserves credit. If you look at the way that he has lent on Salah in equal measure, Salah's 32.
Yeah, 32, 33, something
right?
Like that, yeah.
But he's managed his minutes. But if you look at the way that Salah plays, Salah doesn't help out Trent a lot. You know, Salah's got a job to do. Their midfield are so structured that it allows Salah to pick and choose when he decides to defend. But you look at his goals record, that's why they're going to win the Premier League, because Salah has stayed fit. Why?
Yeah.
Because I think the way he's been managed and with his minutes. And Arne Slot, I think Liverpool deserve credit for that.
If obviously the guys mentioned, their focus is on the Champions League now. They know second place is pretty much nailed down. If Saka is back, do you give them a chance against Real Madrid, Jace? With or without Saka?
I've said this. I've seen Chelsea win the Champions League in moments where we weren't favourites to go on and win it. We simply weren't. Barcelona away going down to 10 men, all right? Right, everyone thought, once they went 1-0 up, Messi misses a penalty, you need a little bit of good fortune. In the final, Robin misses a penalty. I've watched it happen for my own club, so I know that the best team in that competition does not always win it.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Doesn't always win it. And you might have a refereeing decision. You might have an injury. I mean, who knows? What if Bellingham picks up an injury? What if Vinicius Junior picks up an injury going into those Arsenal? Funny things happen in football. Going back to your question, then it's do you rush Saka back?
No.
Right, what you want is him fit for next season. So there's that balance between whether Saka's fit enough to take any part. Personally, I can't see it. I don't see why you would.
No.
Unless he's doing training behind the scenes where he might be on the bench, might have 15 minutes in each leg, where he could do something special.
Well, the thing is with Bukayo Saka is that I think he's a lot further along the progression line than we know at the minute.
Yeah, that may well be true.
It's just a hunch, but there's a lot of positive talk about him being available for Real Madrid. We've got 2 games before we play the first leg against Real Madrid. If he can get 15 minutes, 20 minutes in each of those, then maybe there's a chance. And if he's there, then I think we got a chance. And to your point, if we get a refereeing decision, I promise you, I won't complain about any of the ones in the Premier
imagine
League
if one goes against them in a Champions League against. To be honest, I wouldn't bank on it because Real Madrid get everything.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, you've watched Real Madrid in the Champions League. Rory, do you actually believe that I suppose the question is, can Arsenal win the Champions League or can realistically Arsenal win the Champions League? And I think they are 2 different things.
I think the answer to both is yes. I don't think it is as wildly unrealistic that Arsenal win it as people seem to suggest. I don't think people that saying we're going to get battered by Real Madrid. Arsenal don't get battered anymore, really, by anyone. And if you look at where Real Madrid have struggled, even against Atletico nullified them by setting up defensively. We know Arteta can do that in big games. We've heard this season, when Arsenal go to the Etihad, for example, people start comparing Arteta to Mourinho or Symeou because we do set up in those big away games with the objective of not conceding and then seeing what we can do on the break. So, yeah, it's possible that we do it. And if we beat Real Madrid, suddenly you're looking at Villa or PSG in the semis. Well, we've beaten both of them at some point this season. Barca in the final, why not?
Oh, no, see, I can't get on board with that.
I can't
get on board with it.
But,
do you know what it is, right? Is coming from a team that's won it, not once, but twice. No, I think a lot of it is up here.
Did you win it or buy it? Sorry.
No, we won. Don't care, it's not my money. Won it. I think the difference is, like on the pitch, anything can happen, right? Like you say, you can get a penalty decision, you can get a refereeing decision, go your way, go against you. You have to have a mentality, like it's different to win the Champions League. And I'm just not sure Arsenal have that. I don't know if I've seen enough over in Arteta's Arsenal, because in big moments they have come short.
I think that's
just
fair.
short.
I think that's
is
fair.
that hard? I don't know.
I think that's fair. Arsenal have come up short in big moments.
When it's really matters.
Yeah, but like I said, at that time I'm talking about 2012. That Chelsea's team was listed with
the best
serial winners, but it wasn't the best Chelsea side. Wasn't the best version of that.
No.
Wasn't the best Didier Drogba.
No.
John Terry didn't play in the final. Ashley Cole was coming, towards the end. Frank was, maturing at that time. But it'd be interesting to see, going back to that original point, it'd be interesting to see what Newcastle do this year, because they've now become winners. They've won a trophy. And that top 4 race, I think that is going to give them a huge acceleration to go in and a bit of self-belief. I think there is something in that Arteta. Have they got the mentality to go on and be the very, very best version of themselves in big moments? It might even be a 20-minute period. They might be up against it against Real at home, where something might happen in the game that's turned against them. There's a lot to be said and done in this Champions League. But in answer to the question, I think Arsenal can win it. I genuinely feel that Arsenal can. I hope they don't. They can.
Do you think what I said was harsh? Or do you think I have a point? Or do you think it's...
I think the point that Arsenal haven't got over the line, that's factual, right? I can't argue with that. But I do get frustrated when people question the mentality of this team, because they finished runners-up, they came back the next season, they went even stronger. And if you go back even prior to that, they just missed out on the top 4. Next season, they come back second, out of the blue, no one expected it. The season after that, they come second again, but take it to the final day. Okay, this season, they've fallen further afield, but as we've explained, they're not excuses, there are reasons for that. And I think if you can process those reasons and attribute them to where Arsenal are at and do it fairly and take again, I keep using the word tribalism, take that away for a minute and analyse it objectively, I think Arsenal are improving year upon year. This year, it's not gone the way we wanted it to go. But I would question a lot of things before I question the mentality. It's not mentality.
It's not.
Is it quality? Yeah, in certain areas, for sure.
I don't
think you've improved this year, though.
There is that thing about having a winning mentality. There is that thing of having winners in that team. And I saw it at my own club where you just knew Chelsea were going to go through again because they kind of reached the pinnacle. They've reached that goal. And I think once Arsenal do it, then I think going in, I think there's a different thing. But
you get the winning mentality by winning. So I feel like we're kind of saying, well, they haven't got the winning mentality. They haven't got the winning mentality yet, but if they win it this year, then all of a sudden all of them have got the winning mentality. And I think a lot of them are young as well. So we looked last year against Bayern in the quarterfinals. For a lot of our players, that was the first significant big European night they've had. Have they learned from that? Hopefully. It's an experience. So, yeah, I think it's easy to say, oh, they're not winners. But they're all kind of, a lot of that team is not even hit their sort of prime age yet. A lot of them could be winners by the time they hit their prime, and then you're looking at a squad of prime players that have won it, and suddenly you're going, okay, they can win everything.
Yeah, I think it's an if though, isn't it? And I just think this season with Arsenal, I don't think you're better than you were last season. I don't think it's been an improvement. And I know a lot, Saka got injured. When did he get injured?
He's been out for, 2 months?
Yeah, so back end of the year?
End of December.
End of December. Before the January window.
I thought you were better last season. I thought you were much better last season. So what's gone wrong, especially with Saka in the team for that large part of the season at the start? What do you think happened?
Well, it's okay. Saka was in the team, but there was 2 months with no Odegaard. I think that you can explain the drop-off in the attack. I think Trossard's had not a great season in comparison to where he was. I think Martinelli, you can say the same. Even if we're looking at the goals, because goals have been the problem, it's not necessarily at the other end of the pitch. Even Declan Rice, you look at what he contributed last season versus this season, it's not been the same. I think we've been unlucky in that there's been a collective drop-off in form around the number of players, but also those injuries, the red cards, in games we were in control in. They've turned games. But it's true. You can't deny it. You can't deny it.
But can I also add to that?
If going down to 10 men wasn't a disadvantage, we wouldn't send players off.
But can I add? I think the Premier League quality this season is pretty damn poor.
It's awful.
I'm saying Liverpool are going to win this at a canter. I don't think Liverpool have been great.
That good. No.
And I think this is the season that Arsenal will look back on. If you don't win it we don't win it this year, but in the coming years, and you see Man United come back stronger, Chelsea come back stronger, City. Liverpool strength. I feel this is one that's got away. I really do, because the fact that Chelsea, and I watched Liverpool play yesterday in the Carabao Cup final, the best side in the country. I watched Arsenal and Chelsea, the second and fourth best side in the country. Let me tell you, there weren't a performance among any of those three sides. That is not of the level that I think. Now, Liverpool have definitely dipped. We've seen that. They've gone out of the Champions League. Some of the performances against Southampton first half stunk. Performance against PSG away. Yesterday against Newcastle. I think the quality is poor, and I think there will be a reflection of Arsenal fans looking back, feeling that was the year. We waited for City, the drop-off. It happened, and we never took advantage. And I tipped you to win it this year.
Yeah, there will be to an extent, but I don't think it will be that we turn around and kind of go, well, the players should have done X, Y, and Z. I think it will be the case that the amount of injuries we've had. I mean, you look back at every title winner for the last 10 years, one of the standout stats is how many of their top players played virtually every minute of the season. And for me, it's the Odegaard and Saka injuries, big injuries, that almost followed each other. So they've started 12 games together this season. They were the most prolific duo in the Premier League last season. And in those 12 games, we've won 9, drawn 3, scored 30 goals and conceded 7. So the stats say when those two play, Arsenal are at their best.
But that's a really key point as well, though, because people look at Saka and they go, well, Saka was out, but he was playing this portion of the season. Okay, but if he was playing without Odegaard, those two love to combine on that right-hand side. That's a massive part of our play. And then you look at it now, and okay, you've got Odegaard back and you're going to have Saka back soon, but you haven't got your centre forward. So there's always been a part missing throughout the entirety of this season.
Man City had the same problem last year with Kevin De Bruyne and Haaland. They won it.
Yeah, but look at the players they've got in reserve.
That's what I'm saying about Arsenal. That's what you should have.
But you can't just. Yeah, exactly.
I hear you, but what if the same thing happens next season? Do you want the same conversation next year?
No, of course not. But as an example, if we brought, in the way that they brought in Julian Alvarez to effectively just play if Haaland couldn't, if we spent that amount of money on a player that wasn't coming in to start games for us, the media would be all over it in terms of why have they spent that money on him.
But who cares?
Yeah.
Because
people
everyone's
did it about
crying
Havertz.
out for
Well, we
a
just-
striker.
we
People
just
still
can't do it.
question 65 million.
Because then you
on
haven't
Havertz,
got
and
the
he's
money
been one of
to
our most
do it.
important players.
We can't do it. Arsenal
yet.
don't operate in that way. We can't do it. We don't have that type of ownership. It was never going to happen. That we were going to. This is the thing. People say we don't have enough in reserve, and I agree. But you're never going to.
Why? Sorry, am I being thick? Why don't you?
Because we won't spend
Why
that
not?
kind of money.
Why?
Is it a case of not being able to? I don't know. From looking at the financial results,
No,
we're
but
still.
if I was a Gooner, I want to know, why aren't we going out in January? Why aren't we saying, right, we have an issue here. We knew Saka's going to be out for the rest of the season, probably. What? I need to know the answer why.
I agree with you on the January thing. And I said it earlier on. For me, January was an opportunity to put right what we didn't do in the summer. It was an opportunity to make good on the Sterling signing, which had gone so wrong, and we didn't take that. But we generally, as a football club, are not in a space to be able to go, there's 65, 70 million on a player that isn't going to play. That's Rory's point, right?
Yeah. And look, I think we all agree that we definitely could have done more, should have done more last summer and in January. We didn't. But then I'm not going to turn around and blame the players and the manager for that, because I think the manager wanted the players. I think the players wanted more players, and, you know.
Do you know what I find ironic about all this, by the way? You guys have spent over £1 billion.
Yeah.
And we're talking about our lack of attacking options. I watched Sancho.
Don't worry, we're going to get onto this,
I
Harry.
watched
This
all
is
of
the
these
Arsenal
guys
section of the
stink out
show.
the place yesterday,
Yeah.
and we're getting grilled about what Arsenal did in the transfer window. Incredible.
Do not worry.
but
Do not worry. It's coming. You'll have your time to criticise Chelsea's transfer policy.
yes.
Do not worry. What are you going to say?
No, I was going to say, but spending money in the modern game is what can help get you out of trouble. Now, we'll talk about Chelsea's transfer policy. There has been a lot of criticism and mistakes have been made. There's no doubt about that. For what frustrates me as a Chelsea player is that we are buying for the future.
Yeah.
And Arsenal need to buy for the now. And that's the problem. We're buying young 19-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 20-year-olds. Yeah, but, I haven't got 5 years.
Yeah.
We want performances yesterday.
And what I would say about your attack, and when, Saka, you get a ridiculous level of performance every single time he plays. We all know that. We've all seen it. The consistency levels are ridiculous. What about Martin Odegaard? Because I think he's absolutely brilliant. I think overall as a player, everyone can see. This season, I'm not so sure he has been at the levels, and yeah, sometimes without Saka. But Saka, I don't think, needs Odegaard. Even though he obviously performs better when he is there, Saka can do it on his own, because we know what Saka can do. I think Odegaard's been a bit of a letdown for you this season.
Go on, Rory, I'll let you take
Yeah,
that
to
one.
an extent. I think he got that injury. I think he wasn't rushed back from it, but the fact that he came in, I think he played 90 minutes against Chelsea.
Yeah, that was the
He was
first
best
game.
player on the pitch, by the way.
Oh yeah, he was in that
he was
game.
out.
Yeah, he was
First couple of
very-
games he came back and looked good, and then obviously Saka gets injured. You can maybe try and blame it on fatigue. Was he ready to come back and play the amount of minutes he's done? Maybe not. I think the way that teams set up against us, I think a lot of the games where he's really been almost anonymous, basically he gets man-marked for 90 minutes. And you can man-mark him out of the game for 90 minutes, especially if you don't have to focus on Saka on that side. So it kind of all ties in together. I'm not ready to throw the towel in. I know some people want us to move him on, get the money.
Oh no. Well,
I
Odegaard.
don't know who. Yeah, and I don't know who you go and get necessarily at that point. I would give him a good long summer.
I mean, before we get on to Chelsea then, I just want to touch on, in the summer, is a number 9 Arsenal's priority? And if it's Alexander ISAK, I might just run out of this building crying, because I do not want Alexander ISAK going anywhere near that Arsenal side, because I think he would be perfect. And I think you should break every single record you've broken to go and get him, even though that's the last thing I want. After watching him all season, watching him yesterday, he is exactly what you need. He is exactly what you need.
Break the bank, do whatever it takes,
Yeah.
get him in, because...
What is breaking the bank then for Arsenal? I mean, we've got 100 million with Declan, right?
130.
Would you pay 130 for Alexander Isak?
Yeah, but I don't think Arsenal will. I really don't think we're going to get
I
it
would.
done.
We can. Shall we do it?
You probably
Jace?
could, yeah.
Yeah, we'd
No, he's not 19.
We'd be damn.
Yeah, he's too old.
You won't want to give him a 9-year contract. They might
Oh,
not
we
fit.
will.
No, we
Oh, we
would,
will.
yeah.
Over that.
Yeah, he's.
I'd pay up to 150 if it were me. No, it's not my money.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Found out it was 200 million. Wouldn't bother you, would it?
No.
I think we end up with Sesko. That's my gut feeling, is the club really, really like Benjamin Sesko, and we end up with him.
I think we almost need Newcastle to miss out on Champions League
Yeah.
qualification, because we need not only the player to be maybe looking at Newcastle and saying, I've won a trophy with them, which is history made, but where else can I go with Newcastle United, with all due respect to them? Them not being in the Champions League impacts them financially. Yeah. And of course, you know, they're going to have to start to move players on if they're going to get free of these FFP rules and start progressing as a club themselves. So I think we've got to at least ask the question. We've got to try.
I mean, if he stays at Newcastle, fair play, but whoever gets him, whenever he moves on, that is a coup for anyone. I love Alexander Isak. Now, Jace, it's time to talk about Chelsea. But I'm going to start with a positive. We're still fourth. Going into the international break and into this FA Cup break, we've got two Arsenal fans shaking their heads, but we're still the fourth best team in England.
How the mighty have fallen.
But it's incredible to think that we're still fourth. Every time I look at the table going into March, I'm thinking we must be eighth now, surely. We're not. We were third. We were fourth. It's just ridiculous. However, Old Father Time is catching up with us. I don't see us staying there. I don't think we're good enough. I don't think we're consistent enough. Newcastle got a game in hand over us. Manchester City, I think, will finish above us. I've got a funny feeling we're going to drop to sixth.
It just shows the lack of consistency, doesn't it? Within like Jay says, the level of the Premier League this season, apart from Liverpool, probably the first part of the season where they just blew everyone away.
Well,
even they've
Forest
dropped
are
off.
Probably right now the most consistent.
But that's why they're third.
They play it in their own way. They don't have a lot of possession. Chelsea have a lot of possession. Don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
We don't do anything with it. But yeah, I don't think it's a great Premier League. I think we'll miss out on Champions League football.
Where do you see, I mean, based off of the last couple of months, I mean, based off the first part of the season, you know, Chelsea were a completely, entirely different team. That was a very different team you played at Stamford Bridge compared to the one you played yesterday. In terms of personnel, obviously, because we had a couple of our attackers missing. But I mean, you were shaking your heads when I said we're fourth. Can you believe, given the team you played yesterday, that team is the fourth best team in England?
It's not. It's not the fourth best team in England at the moment.
Is it just that everyone else below them? But the problem is, Rory, is that everyone else below them is so inconsistent that it's like, well, Chelsea do deserve to be there because otherwise they wouldn't be there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the one... I think you started the season at the same pace as Liverpool.
Yeah.
And in December, you were on track to compete with them. You've dropped away massively. I think if you look at the form table since even going back to December now, there's a big difference between all of the teams in and around you are in and around that area in the last 2-3 months. You're down in like 13th, 14th. And I think if that continues the way it is, you will inevitably eventually drop out. And the big thing for me yesterday, if I look at you compared to, again, other teams around you, not the quality, but the just lack of fight. I couldn't believe how passive you were for the majority of that game. For a team that's fighting for a Champions League spot, that if you beat us yesterday, having watched City drop points, Brighton drop points, Bournemouth drop points, it would have been a massive win. And it was kind of, it was such a poor game because of how passive it was.
I do wonder about Chelsea, and you guys will know better than me. Obviously, at the start of the season, they set this incredible pace and everybody was talking about them potentially being in the title race. Now, most sane-minded Chelsea fans were looking at that and going, not really, you know, we're not quite there. But did Enzo Maresca go too big on that? Because it felt to me at the beginning that he was trying to protect himself against ridiculous expectation. But then does that, and Jason will know better than me as a former player, does that seep into your mindset afterwards? If you keep hearing your manager going, no, they're sort of, and I know he didn't say this word for word, but he kept on suggesting that they were punching well above their weight. Does that, as a player, make you start to question?
See, what we hear in press conferences is what he wants the press and the media and the public to hear. What's in the conversation in the dressing room, two totally different things.
But what he says publicly gets amplified, though, doesn't it? They're all young men. They're on social media.
They all look, they definitely all look.
Yeah, but there's nothing more amplified than say it in the dressing room, looking them in the eye. Look, I personally sat here on this show. I felt we overachieved. When we could have gone top if we'd beaten Everton away. Our results were better than our performances. We couldn't keep a clean sheet back then. The difference was that we were managing to create chances and scoring goals. And there was that period around we beat Spurs 4-3, conceded 3 goals. Beat Leicester away 2-1, conceded last minute. We were conceding a lot of late goals. Beat Brentford at home 2-1, and Buemo scores last 5 minutes. And eventually, it feels as though during that period, we went from being results good, performances pretty bang average, to results terrible, performances now really, really dropped. Going back to the Maresca thing, Amorim was asked the other day if he can, what does he want to do? He said, I've come here to win the Premier League. Everyone laughed at him. And he's come out publicly and said, I think we can win it. Whatever the manager says, I don't think makes a huge amount of difference in the dressing room, on the terraces and the paying punters. They listen to it more because that's the only time they actually get to hear the manager speak. But the truth is, he was right. We weren't in a title race. Top 4, yes. That was the race.
Yeah.
That was where we really were. We're not going to finish top of the table. We're not going to finish above Arsenal.
No.
We're not going to finish above Liverpool.
No.
I didn't think we'd finish above City. We probably won't, in all honesty. But, I still think top 4 is a fight. I don't see us getting there.
But that belief was building, wasn't it? It was.
I don't know whether it was, Harry. I don't know, man. People are trying to tell me Chelsea in the title race. And I'm saying, you obviously don't watch Chelsea.
I agree with you.
They're just looking at results, aren't
you
they?
look at results, you go, oh, they're
yeah.
scoring. You obviously didn't look at the detail of the goals we were conceding, and it was every week. We couldn't keep a clean sheet, still can't.
I agree with you that they were never going to win the title. I never felt that they were in the mix. But it felt to me like the belief was building. And whereas a manager, I think the best thing you can do is take a little bit of that, use it, try and grow it into something, try and nurture it a little bit, whilst keeping feet on the ground as well. I don't think he found that balance. I think he went...
Maybe not.
I think to me, it seems like he went full on, whoa, this ain't happening.
No, but I think...
And that message, whether you say it in the dressing room, whether you say something different in the dressing room, that message being out there in public, for me, does damage. And I think he had to find a balance. He should have said, look, we're performing at an incredibly high level right now. Things are going really, really well.
We're not getting
carried away.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
We're not in the title race. No way.
I think
was too much.
Because actually, when you look at
I think you could have tempered what you said. Personally, if that's the reason we've dropped off, tell me it ain't the truth, because it simply isn't.
Yeah.
The reason we dropped off, the lack of intensity. One of you boys mentioned earlier about the lack of
Rory.
Honestly, I've done the commentary for Chelsea TV. I was furious at the end of the game because that is not good enough.
I was at the game and I wasn't furious, Jace.
No,
because it was exactly, and it's sad. It's exactly what I expected from this Chelsea side.
Yeah, I hear. I come away.
Yeah, that's not furious. That's just accepting that is the performance that we've been used to getting for the last 2 months.
No, it's not good.
Sorry, there was a point just as one example. It was like 88th, 89th minute, right in front of me. The ball had gone to Raya, and he was just waiting with the ball at his feet to pick it up. And Neto just strolled up to him, not a care in the world.
Yeah,
and I was thinking, that's even if you know deep down you're not going to win this game or even get a point, just for the fans, for the fans that have gone there, just sprint towards him, just to show that you're trying. But I think Maresca's been found out a little bit. I think if you look at the Brighton results earlier in the season, I think Brighton went to you, dominated the ball, played a high line, and you scored, I think you beat them 4-2.
Yeah.
From 4 big chances that they let you have. And then you went to them and they gave you all of the ball and they sat back and they comfortably beat you and you created nothing. And I think a lot of teams have clocked on to that's how you beat Chelsea. And I was surprised earlier in the season that more managers weren't playing that way anyway.
You're absolutely right. The way you play, if I managed against Chelsea...
You know exactly how you're going to set up.
I sit back deep because there's a lack of intensity in the transition as well, where I think that the best chance sometimes is when a team comes on to you, i.e. a set piece, maybe a free kick out wide, a corner, where you can win the ball away from the goalkeeper and bowl it out. Honestly, it's bang.
Yeah.
It's
just like
the lack of
backwards,
intensity
sideways.
and the lack of... that to me, injuries, blame all that, whatever you want to do, and maybe the quality isn't quite there. But what I can't accept is a lack of fight. And I felt yesterday's game, there was a genuine lack of belief and fight. And that, keeping the ball, who cares? Arsenal Arsenal didn't care.
I think that's a problem, though, with that particular style of football as well. Like, I think it's a bit unfair to say it's only Maresca.
No, it's not only Maresca.
Because there's a lot of managers
right.
that have come through that same school of sort of coaching, if you like, that do similar things, that Pep Guardiola style, if you like. The thing is, Pep Guardiola's sides at their best did have that intensity, and that's what's missing with Chelsea. So there's a piece that's not quite there. But just to tie it back to Arsenal, like we were talking about why we didn't go out and bring in this player and that player and boost our attacking options. I think we're fearful of ending up like Chelsea, where we've spent 100 million plus on Enzo Fernandez, where we've brought Christopher Nkunku in, who was supposed to be the saviour. You know, when he was injured, all we heard was Chelsea will be fine when he comes back. He's offered nothing. Jadon Sancho. There's so many bad, costly signings that Chelsea have made over the years. And we can look at Maresca and we could look at Pochettino last season, but ultimately they've signed players that aren't good enough for vast amounts of money that then prevents them from being able to do business to rectify things as soon as they need to. This is where they're at.
Keep spending money.
Yeah, but it's going to catch up with them.
They're basically just hoping that in the summer you're going to be able to get rid of Kepa, who you probably will actually, because I know he's made some mistakes at Bournemouth, but he's largely been okay for them. But you're basically just risking it all on being able to get rid of Christopher. I mean, Christopher Nkunku will be able to be sold because of what he's done. Yeah, someone will take him. But
you got away with it that summer when the Saudi Pro League started gaining momentum. And a number of players ended up going over there.
We lost money on those players, though. We didn't make money.
I know you lost money.
We lost money on Koulibaly.
But not as much as you should have lost.
But we lost. People saying we didn't. We lost money. But the point about going and spending all this money in trying to sell players, the club themselves, they must have targets. They must have a realistic ambition about who they want to sign, the sort of DNA of a player they want to sign. They must have. But moving some of these players on because they've got long contracts will be easier, believe it or not. I'm not intelligent enough. I don't understand how it works to put these players on long contracts, buy them in, their residual value still equals because they're on contracts. Simon Jordan tried to explain it once, and he's done a pretty good job as far as I'm aware. I still don't quite grasp it. And anyone that outside of football that really understands it, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I don't really know the ins and outs of it, but from a basic perspective of what you're watching, in January, we spoke about Arsenal not doing the business we needed to in January. You weakened in January. You moved João Felix on loan. You look at yesterday, I think your only attacker on the bench was Tyreek George. But you moved João Felix, he's your player, and you moved him on loan in January because you needed to, for whatever reason, to save some money on wages or whatever.
And they're hoping to claw some back.
And then, you do that in January.
João Felix.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think he's great, but you'd have rather had him yesterday than not had him, I'd imagine.
But the issue is, right, when I looked at the team we had yesterday, when Cole Palmer doesn't play, we've got effectively a place for Christopher Nkunku, which is everyone we knew when he came in, it's either off the number 9, just in a number 10. That's his best position every single time when Palmer, because no one's going to play in front of Cole Palmer. So my issue with yesterday was, even though we didn't have Cole Palmer, for the first time in the Premier League since way back, I think it was the Emirates. The last time we didn't play was against you lot.
He always seems to shirk that one.
Yeah, it doesn't fancy it.
2 seasons in a row now.
But my issue is that he's playing players out of position. You've got a centre-back playing at right-back. You've got a right-back playing at centre-mid. You've then got a number 10 playing on the left. It's like, why not just put Reece James at right-back and have him invert, because you're never going to get the Reece James up and down the wing. Play Lavia, because to me, if he's fit enough to be on the bench, he's fit enough to start. And play Nkunku in a number 10. Enzo Fernandez, for me, hasn't done enough to be 100% nailed on, to be playing in that position when it's Caicedo, Reece James.
If you're Nkunku, you must be sitting there thinking,
what am I doing?
When am I going to get a chance to play what is considered his best position? He ain't a wide player, he ain't a number 9.
So now that he's got the chance, Maresca's still not playing him there.
I hear you. The problem he would have had is then you have to play Tyreek George. And then you bring him inside, Tyreek George starts, who plays alongside. So then you have to have Reece at right back and Enzo and Caicedo as the two there.
Anyway,
yeah,
well, Moises Caicedo's brilliant.
And
that's my frustrations. But also, we should look at the fact that Chelsea didn't have you didn't have Saka and you didn't have Havertz yesterday, and we didn't have Nicholas Jackson, who we've missed so much. No matter what you guys, I don't know what you guys think of Nicholas Jackson, but watching him this season,
the way we play, the way we structure,
he would have given Saliba and Gabriel something to think about.
I agree with that. And when I saw Chelsea's performance yesterday, particularly when I was sort of driving home from the match, when you kind of start to download your thoughts and whatever, I was thinking, they were without some really key players. Maresca said it in one of his interviews after the game, and that kind of really triggered it in my mind, that's a problem. Agreed. But the point is, even when you spend £1 billion, which Chelsea have done, and I know you guys must hate it when people say that, because it's the stick that is often used to beat Chelsea with. But when you spend that, there's still no guarantee that you're going to have players as good as the ones that you're missing from your first 11. And this is the point. Squad building is so difficult. To get it right, to have the right profiles of players to be able to come in and replace people, it's not an easy thing to achieve, even when you throw a ton of money at it.
Yeah, it's been done like that, hasn't it? The squads should be built over a period of years.
I mean, we're going to be great in 5 years' time. All these kids we've got coming in, all these 18-year-olds.
Well, Liv, I keep telling you, I haven't got time to wait.
No, I know.
There's a game in a couple of weeks against Spurs. No one is going to
That's a
care.
guaranteed win. We always beat Spurs.
That's how.
actually
Imagine Chelsea fans being worried about playing Spurs. That's where
I'm
we're
not.
at today.
Can I just say I'm actually not worried because I know we have been down in the dumps so badly, but for some reason, when they've been much better than us, they just can't. The way like Man United have a hold over us, we can't beat them.
No. And
Spurs
Arsenal,
can't beat
and
us.
Arsenal.
Yeah, and Arsenal. You've beaten us every year for.
That's
1-5.
seven games
1-5
undefeated.
Oh,
years.
not that you're counting 7 games. Rory,
No, I'm not worried about Spurs. But,
No.
But let me ask you this: if we don't beat Spurs,
Oh God, all hell's
because
going to
the
break
result
loose.
against Arsenal, if we somehow manage to lose against them, I can see things. We're on that edge, Chelsea, at the moment, where we can get top 4. Yeah, we can also miss out.
You could also finish
football.
Miss out on Europe.
So there's that right. Is that
We'll win the
that real
Conference League,
horrible?
though, surely. So.
True.
Yeah.
Well,
true.
Don't.
Oh God, I don't even want to think about if we don't win that. Just finally, before we have to go, I suppose we've spoken about where Arsenal are, and what do you think now consists of a successful season for Arsenal? If there can be one, if you consider this a successful season, what would it look like?
I don't think you could ever consider this season a complete success unless they go and win the Champions League.
Yeah.
Because regardless of what's happened in the Premier League, Arsenal have never won that cup. They've never managed to become champions of Europe. And if they were to achieve that, that would just be incredible. Mikel Arteta's name will be in history books forever, right? But I want to see Arsenal give it a good go and consolidate top 2. Yeah. I'll be content with that. Not happy, content. It's different.
Yeah, I think at least if we beat Real Madrid, at least you can say amidst everything else, we progressed.
Yeah, we didn't have much to shout about in the away end, but I did quite like second again, ole, ole. Quite enjoyed that. Jace, what does a successful season look like for Chelsea? Because still in 4th, still in the Europa Conference League quarter-final, so surely we have to win that and...
Well, I mean, winning that, we can't...
It's not even success, really.
No, it's not. If we don't win it, we're going to get battered. Oh, you know, if you do win it, we'll say, well, sure, of course you win it.
It's a lose-lose,
we can't,
isn't it?
So let's just park that.
Yeah.
No one's going. There's not been an open top bus for that one. That's for sure.
No, please no.
Finish
If
as high in
there
the
is an
table.
open top bus for that,
There won't.
you are never going to hear the end of it.
Well, I very much. Well, I hope not.
No,
we're used to winning European trophies. Come on.
This is nothing. We're not going to do a West Ham and sing Champions of Europe.
Yeah,
we know what we
that's
are.
nice.
We're definitely not going to do
But the
that.
difference is
That's
successful West Ham.
Yeah, definitely.
That does not represent success for Chelsea.
Yeah.
So that kind of answers it quite well. League form, we're not going to finish in the top 3. So that's pretty obvious. Top 4 might be enough.
5.
Top 5 might be enough for Chelsea. I've just got this horrible feeling. What I'm watching at the moment, there's no pattern that makes me feel any confidence that we're going to continue and be consistent enough to finish above Manchester City and Newcastle.
Yeah. Right, that is it for a very special episode of Inside Chelsea versus Inside Gooners. Both shows will be back on their own, don't worry, at the start of April when the Premier League and European football returns. Thank you so much for your company, and thank you, of course, to Jason, to Harry,
Cheers, boys.
and to Rory. It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed the debate. I've enjoyed the arguments. It's been great. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.